letting everybody know. So I have been hosting the SAD community meeting for quite a while, but right now my working focus have been changed to different areas. So I think it's kind of hard for me to follow everything going on with SAD anymore. And thanks to Merrick, who is gonna take over this responsibility. So for today, I'll just let Merrick handle this.
Okay.
Yep. Thanks, Marek.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mark. I've been trying to be more active recently. So let me maybe share my screen so everyone can see. Is it okay? Does it work? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let's start from the top. Yeah, and that's one of my topics. So I wanted to discuss the
Hey, Marek, sorry, but you may want to expand your window there. Is there any way? I mean, I don't know if others, but I could. Yeah, there you go. That's better.
Okay, that's better. Yeah, so so in December I proposed to cut 3.6 and been doing some work on the deprecation. The current status is that deprecation is almost done. We just I think we have 3 out of 4 things done. We just need to re-implement. I think the major thing is to re-implement discovery protocol, which we have already PR. And that's all. On downgrades. Downgrades work on single cluster and are tested, but there's some not the great, it's still not best experience. But I think if we fix the points listed here, which most of them have PRs or should be, I hope that should be pretty quick, we should be able to cut 3.6 soon. I hope to do it this end of this week or end of the next week. That would be my question is there any blockers you see, or is anyone interested in helping with 3.6 release alpha? We've been already asked on the Slack by Kubernetes, by Dims from Kubernetes about releasing it. So, to catch up with Kubernetes. So if anyone can help, that would be great.
Yeah. So, Marek, from the Slack message from Dims, right? Is it something you think we can cut the alpha release by end of this month at least, so that they can start testing it?
So yeah, I hope that within we should have the features service major, or the the grounds for the major changes in next week if possible, and cuts, and the release alpha at least cut, and there will be still remaining. So I'm postponing some work for beta to I know polish the downgrades. I know better user commands and everything, but the ground the basic stuff should be there, working for people to test.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So that's great. Thanks.
Okay, and that's on this topic. The second topic is about. There was one. issue brought up by someone trying the Windows scripts. So the overall looks like we have a lot of failing scripts or like no longer working scripts because we don't test and don't have anyone supporting them. So I've proposed that we cannot, like with current capacity of maintenance, we cannot maintain them as we don't have really someone, I think, knowledgeable about like the platforms or the scripts. So the question for the community is if there's someone willing to, if there's someone willing to help, it would be great if they can look into them and fix them. But if we don't get someone within like, let's say 2 weeks, I think we should remove them and stop and not keep like broken scripts in the repository. And so it's just a call to action about if someone cares about Windows, developing etcd on Windows.
Yep.
Has anybody brought up the Windows 1 with SIG Windows in Kubernetes?
I don't think there's a lot of. I don't think that's been seen by Kubernetes community, or
okay.
I don't. There's a lot of discussion between.
Okay, wait. If you want to ping me when you actually do the PR to remove the scripts, I'll go ahead and share it with SIG Windows in case anybody there wants to dive in and rescue the Windows stuff.
Okay. What's your
and if not, then we'll remove it, because then if not, nobody cares.
What's your GitHub handle?
Jay Burkus, and I'm the same on Slack.
Okay, can you?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Okay. You just know that. Okay. Okay, so let's go to the next topic. Nirman, do you want to discuss?
Yeah, hi Mark, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for confirming. So in the past, we had raised the PRs for the support of ST90X, and now that we can see the binaries for HCD are being released for ST90X since version 3.5, and we had provided an ST90X server to GUIHO for testing so that it can be included in the tier 1 at least, and then we can move to the tier 2 and tier 3 support for ST90X. So just wanted to take the update for the same. I had tried reaching GUIHO on Slack, but I couldn't reach him. So if anyone has any update regarding the same, so that will be helpful for us to understand.
Is there any issue related to this discussion, everyone?
So no, I haven't raised any issue. So I'm not sure what's the progress on the inclusion of ST90X on in the tier 1 or tier 2. So if I need to raise an issue for the same, I'll go ahead and so we can discuss more on that.
Yeah, I would say that's a good idea, because GUIHO, I mean, he is contributing, and but he has some changes, that he announced.
Okay.
Few weeks back, I think last year actually. So yeah, the issue would be helpful, I think, for rest of the maintenance as well, right, to chime in.
Yeah, right. So just one thing, since I mean, if so the Slack would be the better platform to connect with GUIHO regarding the VM, because we need update, because I mean the team is asking if we can release that VM if it is needed anymore or not.
I mean, yeah, that you like say you can try GUIHO on Slack, and see if
Okay.
you can get in touch with him. Yeah, that's
Okay.
nothing wrong. But the issue will be more, general, right, to
Yeah.
everyone. So yeah,
I'll raise an issue regarding the same. Thanks a lot, Sadir.
yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
That
that's it
makes sense, right, Wenjia, Marek? Yeah. Okay,
thanks for confirming.
sure.
The next topic about QoS and Krita.
Yes, yes. Hi. So we mentioned, I think, in a couple meetings in the past that we are facing the problems and we are looking for QoS. So today I want to share our thoughts, and our intent is to merge with the community proposal. But what we have in mind is basically a very direct solution. So we have two. We can start with the client side. So on the client side, what we are proposing is basically do not submit unpaginated range requests ever. So range requests will always be paginated on the client side, and then stitch together to return the response. So let me, I can share my screen so that way I can. Okay. Okay. So on the client side, what we're proposing can be best explained by this. This is just a POC. This is not ready yet, but it outlines what we're proposing. So when the range request arrives, we basically want to kick in a paginated limit. So we want to know how many items are coming in, and then we want to use a predefined paginated limit here. So we would set this is setting it to just from some testing number, but this would be 500, for example, because API server has it. And we would query the response batch by batch and stitch it together. So that's simplistically our client side proposal to avoid gigantic requests coming in, which put pressure on the server side memory. I have more details in the doc, but I'll pause here to let people uh, kind of process it. Let me know if you have questions.
So the proposal is for reducing the memory footprint for range requests, or?
Yes, so there are two parts to the proposal. One is to on the client side to limit the size of the range request, and the other one is on the server side to throttle large range requests. So I can go to the server side proposal in a minute here.
But
So I think I have a question. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I assume you're mainly interested in Kubernetes use case.
That is correct.
So I would look into. I've seen or I heard that there's a design to stop using range requests or use skill watches on Kubernetes side made by scalability team. So I would look what Kubernetes folks are doing, because from what I heard, they are not focusing on changing the API. On etcd side, they are trying to use like optimize watch.
Okay, we will follow up on that.
And I think I just had a question about pagination itself. So say for example, if the client sends like a big like kind of so there's a limit on how big the page can be, right? Like so it can have like either you can send like 0 to 50 or something like that or whatever it is. But if the range is big enough, then it automatically becomes a pretty big request, right?
Mm-hmm.
So point B, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your question.
I think my concern was that like doing this on the client side, how does that kind of mitigate the problem if the problem itself is like if the range is big enough from the client itself? So how does that kind of solve the problem that already exists right now? Because you can send a big range and it can kind of mess with the server, and the server can go down because of that.
So you don't send a big range with this change, right? You send little batches. So if your total range was gonna say constitute, I don't know, 1 GB, you're gonna send in smaller chunks. You're not gonna send the whole thing at a time.
And so when you do this, I'm assuming like now we're making like multiple requests. So if, say, for example, the page was split into 8 parts, then instead of like one big request, now we're doing 8 small requests, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yep. So there is a concern called out about the round trip time, and we can explore some concurrency around that. But we don't want it to be so concurrent that it has the same effect of all 8 landing at the same time. So concurrency would have to be controlled. But in the current first version that we are trying out, it will actually increase the round trip time if they go serially. Okay, so feel free to leave your comments in these docs. I hope I have shared them right. I'll verify, and I'll move on to the server side. We'll touch upon that real quick. So this one especially, I think we want to merge it. We don't want to like start yet another QoS solution. But we'll see how we get to that. What we are proposing is basically we want to put in back pressure based on the memory pressure. So we want the API to throttle when there is memory pressure, and we want some auditing support to understand which queries constituted the memory pressure. As of now, we don't want to do queuing, but we are also not shooting for fairness for this document, but we want to, like in future, we wanna, because we have seen patterns where some workloads, they go ballistic and they start bombarding the server, and we want to kind of identify those kind of malfunctions and stop it only for that consumer and not hurt others as much as possible. So we want to evolve towards that, but current proposal is not doing that. I'll just walk through what the current proposal is. Simplistically, it is going to throttle the large range requests when memory pressure goes high. The way it identifies what to throttle is, so it has a concept of a query, which is basically a query identified by start and end key. The most tricky part in the whole proposal is the response size, because for range requests, we don't know the response size when the request arrives. So we maintain, the proposal says we maintain a countman sketch to estimate the response based on history. So we keep a 1-minute history, so we know the response size of the range request. If we don't have any history, we have concept of a default response size, which is large. So we will conservatively admit the request and see the response and have the right response size for future. Those are basically the most tricky pieces in this document. The rest of it, I think, let's walk through this algorithm real quick in the interest of time. So at the time of admission, we check if we are under memory pressure. If we are, we throttle large range requests. That's all this is saying. I talked about the response size estimation, and we have some periodic activity going where we check for the memory pressure, and we update our, clear out our response sizes so they can get updated in the next period. I guess the one most debated thing here could be that we are proposing we run GC. When we detect we are under memory pressure, we will run GC right from the code instead of waiting for GC to happen. Let's see, I want to touch upon, I'll come back to the design FAQs here, but I wanted to touch upon the interceptor nature of this implementation, because as I understand, that is preferred compared to something that's rooted deep within. So this solution will run as an interceptor. and it's kind of, it looks a lot like the quota stuff we have today. So at the time of admission, the interceptor will check if there is pressure and will throttle, and that's it. Then the rest of the HCD code base should be unaffected. It's just in the interceptor that the impact is. Let me pause there. Let's see if there are any questions, or if something's ambiguous, I can clarify.
A question about checking for memory pressure. Will that live as part of the code base, or?
We are saying it will be part of the code base. It is scanning the stat.m file right now, so it's not going to work on Windows. It works on containers. It works on a Linux system. That's how it gets the RSS of the process today. If we have to support Windows, we'll introduce an API on Windows side. We considered using the Go runtime API, but it does stop the world. So that's a bit, could have performance implications.
Yeah, okay. Thanks for answering that. I have another question, but maybe you can continue about checking the response sizes.
Sure, go ahead. You said you had another question?
So I went through the proposal, and I think you can actually estimate the size of the response by just looking at the, I think it's called KB index. So there's an in-memory data structure already that stores, you can issue a range request against that and not for the backend. So maybe using, and that's actually what we use in Vivek's proposal.
Okay, I can connect with you offline to understand better. If we can get rid of this countman sketch, we want to.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I had a question for Vivek. How does it fit in with what you have, and is there enough to merge, or how do we go about making sure that there aren't too many spurts of QoS solutions?
So what I'll do is I'll go through this and I'll kind of get back to you like, hey, this is, I think, what we can do. And if you have any ideas, we can work with that too.
Okay.
But yeah, either way, like I'm open to ideas as well. But I'll just go through the doc ones to kind of ensure that I understand what you're exactly trying to do. So, but yeah, and also I think I forgot to reply to your comment. I was just out for a month and I just came back, so I'm just catching up on stuff. So sorry about that.
No problem. Thank you. I think there is a question on the chat from Michael. Let's see. Bogdan, it's for you.
Is there reference to the structure you mentioned? I can comment on the proposal into I think it's called the KB index. Basically, it's an NVCC index type. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, how the range works. First core is that in-memory structure to get the keys, and then on the both sides will issue a gap for each of the keys. So what I'm saying is that you don't have to go to both, but you can already estimate the size of the range by just looking at where you already have in memory. At least that's the idea. Anyway, I'll comment on the proposal, so we can discuss it there.
Okay. So as next steps from our side, we will prepare, at least for the client side changes, we'll start preparing a PR, or even for both, we'll prepare the PR to make it more concrete. And then we can explore, especially for server side, we can explore the merge path. And the second question I had for the group is this heavy hitters pattern that we see. Have people seen similar things, that some workloads malfunction and then they kind of bombarded CD?
I think one issue that we ran into was when, like, if Kubernetes lists like everything that they have, like all the resources or something, that's when like HCA you kind of run into like, oh, we run into server issues where we run out of memory. But I think that's one of the pain points that we had, like when we kind of were thinking about QoS. And then there are other use cases as well, but this was one of the most prominent ones where we we run out of memory 100% every time someone tried to list all the keys or all the kind of resources that Kubernetes had. So
Okay. All right. I guess I'll pause in interest of time, but we will bring this to the discussions again. Before I close, though, I want to ask our team here, AWS team, anybody wants to add in anything I might have missed? Okay, I guess that's it for now. Thank you.
Okay, Bogdan, you have 2 minutes to maybe talk about the Diffrack PR. I think I've seen it.
Yeah, so check that run report and the fix. We're actually running the fix in production. But I think this is actually important if you using the map settings for both. I think in series 5 that was already changed to the default. And there was a couple of years ago there was a fix from somebody here that introduced that, and it actually helps a lot with the I was like large deployments. So the fix is actually very simple. It just what happens is that the defrag was originally implemented. What it does it just basically creates a new version of our database and inserts all the key values you want to, right? And then sort of just swaps the backend. The bug is that we didn't have the custom options that were passing default when the Diffrack was implemented, right? So when those options were added, they were not applied when after Diffrack. So the new backend has just defaults. And I added a unit test also to showcase the problem.
wait, I think sorry to interrupt, but either it's your mic or my speaker, but there are like crazy amounts of static, or maybe it's just me. But anyone else?
I thought
It's not you.
Because I think for the past 3 minutes when he was talking, I really couldn't understand like any of it.
Better? No?
Yeah, it is better. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me repeat that. So check out the PR. It's very small actually, but I think it's important to get it merged. And we're already running this fix in production. So this will be good for people who run large clusters and who use the map setting for both. So I think it's already default in 3.5. But what happens basically is that the defrag original implementation, when it was implemented, we didn't have the custom options for bold. So what it does, it basically just copies all the key values into a new backend and just swaps the backend. And then when the custom options were added, they were not applied after the defrag. So I think I can do the PR also for 3.4 and 3.5. It's going to be similar change, just the test will be a little different. So check it out. I think it's an important one and an easy fix. That's all.
Okay, that sounds good. I think that's all the topics that we had prepared. And we are a little bit after time, so if anyone has anything, please maybe reach out or add a topic to the next agenda, or reach out to or file an issue, so we can maybe discuss it before the next meeting. But thanks everyone for being today, and hope to see you on the next meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.